welcome to a new year. It is now currently 2021. As of 2 days ago, well, it's currently as I start this, it is the 2nd of January 2021. So, yeah, quite new year. And joining me today again is my bird, Pipsqueak. Little cutie, who lives back in here with me. He's a little sleepyhead now. He's had some food. He actually had some seed. I have to seed earlier. He literally sat in my desk and ate his dinner and wouldn't let me move him again. So yeah. Anyway, today, since this is the new year, I thought I would start it off with trying out a new medium that I have never used before. And this medium is the H2o Water-mixable oil paint set. This one's by Montmartre. I assume there are other brands out there as well, but I've only seen this one. So, it's like an oil paint, which, yes, I've used oil paint before. I have done some things in oil paint. None of them ever finished. I have to work on that. Maybe I should do a series of finishing paintings from last year. Might be up to you guys, yeah, I might make a series out of that. Full of good ideas, aren't I, Pipsy? You little sleepyhead. You little sleepy. No, but night time you're already going to nap? Ah, whatever. So yeah, these I picked up and left the price tag on. Anyway, they are $18.95. I picked up at the local J-Car Gasco and Office Works stockist in Carnarvon, since that's about the only place in town that sells decent enough art supplies. So yeah. So these are H2o, so they're water-mixable oil paint, which I've never heard of before. I saw them last year, but never got a chance to check them out or anything like that. So their features are mixable with traditional oil paint, linseed-based mediums, and turpentine. Mixable with acrylic and gouache or gouache. However, whichever way you pronounce it, I've always pronounced it as gouache, because to me the OU makes the owl, then you go osh. Gouache, but they kind of as gouache. Well, I'm not sure where they get the W sound from. So yeah, paints can be diluted with water, easily washes up with water. On the back they have a little, because it's an 8-piece, so they've got a little tiny colour names and colours of what's in them, and they've all got their, they've got a little key as well, just down the bottom here. I hope my camera's still in focus and all this movement hasn't thrown it out, because it's, can't tell, it doesn't have one of those reverse flip screen thingies. Haven't upgraded to that. You got transparent, translucent, and opaque key, and 1, 2, or 3 stars. So white is opaque, the mid yellow is opaque, orange is opaque, red's opaque, Pathio green is translucent, Cobalt blue is opaque, ultramarine violet is translucent, and black is translucent. Never heard of translucent black before, but still. And they all have excellent 3-star light fast quality, so these should last a very long time and not fade over time. Ain't that right, Pipsqueak? And you don't give a hoot at the moment, do you? I get distracted easily. When you get little cuties like this, you always get distracted. So yeah, let's get into the video. Okay, first thing I got out was my little A5 swatching booklet that I used to do in my swatches, and my nice brand new water-soluble H2o oil paints. As you see, it's a set of 8 with most of your basic colours that come in any set of paint. My little flower-shaped paint palette. Got the palette knife out for helping to mix them up. And first we got titanium white. 3-star light fastness and full opacity. Then got mid yellow, also 3-star light fastness and full opacity. The orange, it's a very bright orange too, and a strand of hair from my own head. Why does it not surprise me sometimes? Next we got cadmium red, 3 stars, full opacity. Phthalo, how do you pronounce that one? Green? I've never been able to figure out that word. Then we got Cobalt Blue, which is a brilliant bright blue. Ultramarine Violet, which I've never heard of before, that type of purple. And of course, Ivory Black. They're very buttery and just feel just like regular oil paints when you first start. So here we go, swatching the white, which you can just see. I have not figured out what difference is between titanium white and zinc white. I'll probably have to get 2 separate tubes and compare them next to each other. I think one's got a slight grey tone to it, or a yellow tone. And swatch the mid yellow, orange, cadmium red, that green. It's a very, very dark green, and that brilliant cobalt blue. It's one of the best blues I know is a cobalt blue. And that ultramarine violet, which looks a lot better than it does on camera. It looks kind of black there, but it's a very brilliant, deep, rich purple. I just love it. And ivory black, which is the blackest of all the blacks. I already got paint on my fingers from those tubes, which why does that not surprise me? Or why does it surprise me? So I empathise that purple is the nicest purple I have seen. Oh. So, here we are testing the mixing of colours. So I just got some green and a bit of yellow, and they just blend together brilliantly. They can mix just like an oil paint. You can blend them out completely, or leave the what I call blending. If you add some white to that ultramarine violet, you get a very pretty lilac, light purple colours, which is the best I've seen whenever mixing one purple with white. That's the richest purple I've found. By mixing together the red, yellow and the blue, you can get decent shades of brown. This one here turned out like a sienna brown. So there's some there. Now for the water test to see how well they are water soluble. So I got my paper towel and use that to squeeze water because I don't have any eye pipettes at the moment. And as you can see, when I mix the water to the paint, it liquefied instantly and it's gone just like a watercolour paint consistency. Which makes me wonder if these can be used just like water paints as well, thinned out enough. I'll have to do another video on that and find out. Do some more testing. Between the pages there, I've got some plastic to stop the water-soluble oils in the water and that leaking through the paper. But these are truly the best set of paints I've had in this range. Really do love them. And to show off my candle I'm burning at the moment, it's called Amber Allure. They're a very nice, high-scented candle. It's a limited edition candle too. Highly recommend them if you can get hold of that candle. So I've got my 3 palettes. I only need the 1 canvas book panel, They're 5x7 each canvas panel. They come in packs of 3. A nice, small, decent-sized canvas for doing any test painting on when you're trying out new types of paint. So, first of all, I've decided we're going to paint a landscape today. It's the only thing that could come to mind when you're on a bit of an art block on what to do. So out came the cobalt blue and the titanium white. I just tested a couple of my oil brushes and fluffed them up to get them ready. So I went in with a small flat oil paint brush, a soft one, mixed up the paint ready to start blending the sky out. Now I find skies are one of the hardest things to blend out because you get a lot of paints, they're just too rich or too deep, but these ones here were closest to what I needed for doing a sky. So I just started swiping that around. Got blue, got a bit of white coming in too, lighten it up. So yeah, first lot's just painting a sky and blending out. These colours paints actually blended together really, really well and really nicely. Clean up the desk again. I should probably learn to put something down so I don't have to do it, but it cleans up nice with water, so one reason why I didn't worry about putting a plastic sheet under my desk. So here I am lightening it up in places and darkening other spots and continue to blend it out to make a nice smooth transition between the dark blue of the sky and the lighter blue as it comes down to touch the earth, or so to speak. Yep, and of course, I don't know if you saw it when I flipped the canvas over, I've painted this painting entirely upside down when it comes to tightening on the back. On the back they have the size of the canvas, your medium, date and name of the picture and that sort of thing, painting. And I always, with these panel boards, somehow manage to paint on them so that when you flip them over, the words are all upside down on the other side. I've yet to figure out how I managed to do it. Even though I put it down the right side up, I still managed to somehow turn it around and put it all upside down instead. So yeah, here we are. Just about got the sky all blended out nicely. The transition's brilliant, how these paints just went from light to blue, dark to light. Yeah. So yeah, re-straighten my canvas again because I knocked it. So now we'll start painting in the grass. The foreground, middle ground, foreground sort of thing. That's basically what it is. So I put some brown along the base in the very foreground to show the dirt representation, and then I'll go over it again with some of that green base where it transitions, and when you put the green over the brown it makes a different, like a browny green, which gives a nice undercoat for foreground, which, yeah. Keep bringing my camera out of focus. My painting out of the camera view. I'm not used to painting around a camera, so yeah, that sort of explains that there. So now coming back in with the green, as you can see as I start to transition it down onto the brown, you can see the darker spots on the brown compared to the lighter spots when I just put directly onto the white. It's kind of like an underpainting of what I did with the brown. It gives a different dimension to what I'm doing, what I'm making. So yeah, just keep adding it in. Find some of that yellow because it's looking a bit too dark at this stage, not as natural as it could be. So I got some of the mid yellow to blend in and mix up with the paint to lighten it out a bit and make it a little bit more natural with the blend. A note to self about these brushes: the pigments in the paint can stain or dye the bristles of the brush. I've yet to try and see if I can turn the brush back to white, but then again, I've noticed white brushes with all paints, no matter what it is, they tend to dye or stain the bristles of the brush, so it's never a white brush anymore. And the ones I'm using are the soft bristle brushes out of the pack instead of the hard hog hair bristle brushes. Yeah, and just lightening up as you get back, bringing that down over that brown. You can still see the different colours there. Add a bit more yellow to lighten it up. And just keep blending it out to make it more natural, transition into each other a lot more smoother. So these paints, I first ever saw these paints was last year. I've never heard of them beforehand, but our JCar stockers up here happen to also stock office supplies as well. Gascoigne Office Works JCar stockers, and they had these on a sale there. They had a 15% off sale, which is the only reason I bought them. So I paid less than $15 for them out of total. Yeah, now we've decided that I need some happy little clouds in the sky. Just to add some variation, because that blue background looked pretty bleak. Though, where you can see why I blended the sky out, it does seem like there's some little wispy, those little wispy feathery clouds you can see in the sky sometimes. So we just got the brush. I put it in the you're just using plain titanium white because the background's still wet at this point. So as by doing that technique, we get the blue coming down through the white paint, so it makes it look like it isn't just flat paint on the board. Now, and you can see the sky behind the clouds, which what we do see in real life. Now, just to clean up my messy desk, get all that paint off before it dries too much. I'll go over it later with the magic eraser to go remove it all together. So now to move on, just adding trying to do some little finer blades of grass in different directions to make it look like a more natural grassy scene, which didn't turn out best as I was trying to do that during while the paint was still too wet. So instead I switched to adding some little trees in the background. Same thing, just the wet and the wet paint. Adding that light green and the blue blended through it to make more of a base minty green colour. So just putting in there some rough texture, show a rough shape of a tree. This the third tree I came in too dark with, as you can see there, and quickly decided that because it's so dark, I just using a piece of paper towel just dabbed it around and bring it up. So that tree ended up being a bit bigger than the others, but adds variation to the whole thing. And just by using yellow, green, and just doing jerky movements, twirling movements, you get a variation between lights and darks. So here we are a day later with the finished dried background. And here comes Pipsqueak. He's come to look and be a nuisance. He blew my candle out then too when he flew off. So I just got my fan brush to brush off any loose dust and stuff like that. So I decided, why not in the background, since it's already a field, just to add some simple flowers, like a flowered field. So I got one of my fine brushes and started going in with that lilac purple I showed you yesterday. The paint in the palette, I just put a little mist of water over it, just one spray with the spray bottle, and just left it open on the desk where I didn't have any Glad wrap to place over. And it was still able to liquefy and just reuse it the next day, which is very nice for these paints. I'm pretty glad they don't have a fast drying paint. Unlike acrylics, I have a heck of a time trying to get acrylics to keep overnight. They dry out too fast in the summertime up here. Same with watercolors. Here comes Pipsqueak again. He wants the brush. That's what he wants. For some strange reason, he likes to try and chase pencils and brushes and catch them. He's a very curious little bird. So you can just make out his claw there and his beak. Here comes his beak. I ended up shooing him away, and because he got cranky, and so he blew my candle out again. Yeah, he just seems to have a thing about flying past a candle, and of course his wings blow it out. So I started going in some other coloured paint. So I got the red, orangey colour and some darker purple, just dotting it around random. I didn't even think about where to place them. I just went, alright, want some little flowers in the background? We'll just do random. Wherever the brush lands, that's where the flowers ended up. So I used some orange, I got some red going in there too. Make some different variations to it. Here comes some yellow, like little yellow sunflowers in a way. Depending on, these flowers can be whatever you want them to be. They're just like an impressionist. So adding some more details to trees in the background, more highlights and shadows to make them a bit more bushier, leafier, more natural, so they don't stick out like a Thor thumb being so flat. So they look a lot more 3D now that I've done that to the painting. So I started to try and paint in larger flowers by just doing these little star shapes, but they end up looking too much like stars, and I didn't have my really fine brush out to make them more flower-like. They're just odd, awkward stars. So I ended up changing how I was doing them, and instead of going with the star type technique, I just started doing the 5 spot, where I just put 5 blobs of paint in an area, or 4 depending on how big I want. It gives you a impression of a flower. Makes them look a lot neater and tidier too. So yeah, those are my little purple flowers. So I started adding, by adding a bit of red to the purple, you make a mauve type colour, or mauve, however it's pronounced. I really need to brush up my colours. And some nice bright orange and a couple of reddish coloured flowers as well. The red ones I suppose you could call poppies if you wanted to. I haven't actually named them. They're just basic flowers. Cleaned off my brush and went back in to fix those yellow flowers that stood out like a sore thumb amongst the other ones. So by just going through using the exact same technique, it's like all you need to do is just get a brush and put 4 or 5, depending on how big and many petals you want, circles close together on your canvas, and you get a flower impression in some way and form. So yeah, that's that painted there. And just adding the final touches of the little centres in each of the flowers where I could get them to stand out without too much difficulty. The yellow I'd use a orange instead, because yellow does not stand out on yellow very well. So yeah, knocked the camera then by mistake again. Interesting trying to paint like a camera angle there. So then I saw I still need to put the branches in for my trees, so getting a bit of that red, blue and yellow going. I mixed up a brown, dark, lightish, reddish brown to paint in the trunks of my trees and the little branches to make them look. One's leaning to one side, so that's the way the wind blew it when it was going. So it went up and across. I've seen a lot of wind-blown trees too in my time, so that's the theme I went for in some way. Now came the task of trying to sign the painting, which didn't go very well with the type of brush I was using, so I tried using a piece of wire instead, which only made it worse. Well, actually, it was a needle. My little brushes are not quite. They're fine, but they just don't. They're too soft. So after wiping that off again, I went searching for my other very extremely fine brushes that I have. They're, yep, knock the camera again. I don't know how many times I knocked the camera. You guys tell me down in the comments below how many mistakes you saw in this film. So I've got a set of very small brushes. They come in pairs. So I've got 2 O's, 2 double O's, and 2 triple O's. Some are longer than others. So I think I end up using a double O. And by just putting a little bit of paint on the end, I manage, with some very careful precision, to sign the bottom of the painting. I prefer to sign in the bottom right hand corner for some reason. That could be because I'm left-handed. But yeah, that's just the first 3 letters of my name. It's actually my nickname, some people call me. And of course I accidentally put my hand in the yellow flowers by mistake, so it kind of smudged them. Being left-handed can be a problem sometimes, because when you got wet paint under it, you tend to smudge it pretty bad. So I just got a piece of paper towel to try and pick up some of that excess yellow that went where I didn't want it to go, which can be difficult without trying to stuff up the rest of my flowers that are still wet. Used a bit of a paintbrush to try and help pick it up. Re-wet the wet towel and got the separation going between the two yellow flowers again. Even though flowers do overlap in the wild, I have this thing for liking with a bit of a gap between them in my simple paintings. So yeah, then going back in, I got my tuber yellow and went searching for my little paintbrush that I had in my hand not long ago, but I put it down and hence could not find it. Again, I don't know how many other people have the problem where you use something, you put it down, then you can't find it. And it's there, and it was there just a second ago, but that happened. So, yeah. Using that very small brush I had before, I just started touching up the outside flowers. But overall verdict of these paints, they are very nice to work with. They work just like an oil paint. You can use them like an acrylic if you like, to some extent, but there's not much acrylic properties there. And thinning them out, they could probably work just like watercolors as well, as I showed and demonstrated before of thinning them out. They clean up with water, they don't have any bad smells from regular oil paints. They've got the same texture as an oil paint, they just go down real nice, blending's brilliant, and everything like that. Do them there. I highly recommend, if you haven't tried them yet, I highly recommend you try them. So there's my finished painting of a field of flowers, and yep, that's my overall. I hope you all enjoyed the video and see you next time. Bye.